Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever looked at a thriving, vibrant reef aquarium and wondered exactly how it manages to stay so perfect? It's honestly not just about tossing some water and fish into a glass box. In fact, thinking of it as just a pet in a bowl is pretty much where most beginners go completely wrong. A reef tank is a living, breathing, and incredibly complex micro-ocean right there in your living room. Today we're going to dive into the fascinating, strictly data-driven science of professional reef aquarium maintenance. It's this whole world where microscopic precision is quite literally everything, where chemistry perfectly meets biology, and we're going to break down exactly how the pros actually do it.
Our agenda for today breaks this entire ecosystem down into core pillars of stability. We'll start with 1, the prime directive, then look at 2, chemistry and water testing, move into 3, animal care and algae, check out 4, hardware and water changes, and finally 5, vetting your maintenance pro.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the prime directive, protecting your reef's most important asset.
And what is that asset? Well, it's stability. That is the absolute golden rule. As our source material points out, reef tanks aren't just pets. They are incredibly sensitive, highly interconnected ecosystems. This isn't your basic aquarium upkeep where you just scrub the glass and swap out a filter cartridge every now and then. These systems depend on incredibly consistent water parameters, ultra-reliable filtration, and perfectly dialed-in lighting. Why? Because even the most microscopic swings, a tiny sudden shift in salinity or just a slight temperature drop, can trigger this massive chain reaction that severely stresses or even kills sensitive corals and invertebrates. So the prime directive isn't just cleaning, it's the relentless, daily pursuit of absolute stability.
Let's move on to Section 2, chemistry and water testing. This is all about managing data, not guesswork, where professionals act a lot more like lab technicians.
So professionals aren't out here just checking basic water clarity. They are tracking the foundational building blocks of the reef. We're talking alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium, right alongside critical waste indicators like nitrate and phosphate, plus salinity, pH, and ammonia and nitrite. In a reef tank, you need significantly tighter parameter control than you'd ever need in a standard freshwater setup. Professional maintenance means pulling out laboratory-grade measurements and highly accurate test kits. A good technician doesn't just eyeball the water and cross their fingers. They use this precise chemistry to make really vital husbandry decisions. Every single adjustment to that water chemistry has to be targeted, heavily documented, and driven 100% by hard data. Guesswork is totally off the table.
Which brings us to Section 3, animal care and algae, or the biological pillar of the whole operation. This is where we transition from raw chemical data to protecting the physical, living health of the livestock. Animal care really is the beating heart of professional maintenance. A technician is basically acting as a highly trained early warning system. They're constantly hunting for subtle, early signs of stress way before things go critical. That means keeping an eye out for tissue recession, bleaching stress, unusual algae patterns, or any kind of abnormal fish behavior. The entire goal here is proactive intervention, catching these signs before they cascade into an expensive, irreversible disaster. Oh, and a massive part of this biological pillar: feeding management. In a closed reef system, feeding isn't just giving the fish dinner, it's a highly controllable driver of nutrient levels that directly impacts the entire tank's health.
And speaking of nutrients, that brings us to the inevitable battle with algae. Even with fantastic filtration, reefs naturally develop algae and biofilm over time. Now, an amateur might just scrape the glass or dump in a chemical treatment, which is basically slapping a temporary Band-Aid on a bigger problem. But a true professional? They target root cause solutions instead of quick fixes. Reputable technicians know you can't just chase symptoms to keep a tank balanced long term. You have to manage the primary contributors. You dial in the light spectrum, you strictly control nutrient input, you optimize flow patterns within the tank, and you maximize the system's export capacity.
Next up is Section 4, hardware and water changes. This is the engineering pillar of reef maintenance.
Because here is the reality. A reef's biology relies entirely on its engineering. It's essentially a complex life support system. That means systematically doing critical hardware inspections on absolutely everything. Professionals check return pumps and power heads to make sure they're delivering the exact required flow. They ensure protein skimmers are tuned perfectly to strip out organic waste. They check that heaters and lights aren't fluctuating, and they meticulously examine dosing systems and recalibrate sensors. They even track maintenance intervals for wear items. And why go to all this trouble? To prevent catastrophic errors. A malfunctioning dosing controller could cause a massive underdose or overdose, literally crashing the delicate ecosystem overnight.
And then, when it comes to the actual physical maintenance, there's a strict professional water change methodology. First, you have to match the salinity of the new water precisely to the tank. Second, use the correct, purified water source. Third, you manage the timing perfectly to minimize stress on the animals. And fourth, this is a big one, clean without disturbing the beneficial biofiltration. You see, pros will thoroughly remove detritus, but they're incredibly surgical about it. They know exactly how to export the bad waste without wiping out the microscopic good bacteria that literally keep the whole ecosystem alive.
So, taking all this scientific and engineering complexity into account, it begs a really important question for anyone looking to hire out this vital work. You're handing over the keys to a fragile, expensive microocean. So, what should you actually ask before hiring a reef maintenance company?
That leads us nicely into Section 5, Vetting Your Maintenance Pro. Consider this your ultimate buyer's guide.
When vetting a pro, you really have to ask targeted questions to prove they are genuinely data-driven. On water testing, ask which specific parameters do you test and how frequently. For equipment, is equipment calibration and sensor checking actually included? For dosing, how exactly are dosing adjustments handled and who approves changes? When it comes to algae control, flat out ask, do you use root cause solutions or quick fixes? And finally, reporting. Do you document findings and provide a comprehensive visit summary? Asking these specific questions ensures you're hiring a true ecosystem manager, not just a basic glass scrubber.
Because ultimately, professional service is all about securing that stable, low-stress environment for corals and fish. It requires informed husbandry, precise calibration, and super reliable records. That good documentation helps detect microscopic trends like gradual parameter drift long before your livestock is ever actually affected. Because as we've seen today, without data, you're just guessing. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one vital question to ponder about your own setup. Is your current reef maintenance truly driven by data?